Harald Sigurdsson, known to history as Harald Hardrada, stands as a towering figure among the Viking kings. He is a warrior, a leader, and a symbol of the end of the Viking Age. Harald's life is a tale of relentless ambition, epic battles, and the relentless pursuit of glory. Was there really no great Viking king after Harald Sigurdsson? And what happened to the Viking kings after Harald Hardrada? Today we embark on a journey through the remarkable life of Harald Hardrada, the last great Viking king. Our story begins in Norway in the year 1015. Harald Sigurdsson was born into a world of power and legacy. His father, Sigurd Syr, was a petty king of Ringarik, a region in Norway, and one of the wealthiest chieftains in the land. But Harald's lineage was far more illustrious than just wealth. He was a direct descendant of Harald Fairhair, the first king of Norway. According to Snorri Sturluson, the Icelandic saga writer, royal blood coursed through Harald's veins. Not much is known about Harald's early years, but even as a boy, he was said to be larger and stronger than his peers. With the legendary blood of kings running through him, it was clear that Harald had a destiny to fulfill. His half-brother Olaf II was king of Norway, and young Harald idolized him, striving to follow in his footsteps. As a child, he worked on his father's lands, honing his skills and preparing for the day when he too would become a warrior. In 1028, Norway was engulfed in turmoil. A revolt forced King Olaf II, Harald's brother, into exile. But in 1030, Olaf returned to reclaim his throne, gathering warriors from across the land. Harald, now just 15 years old, was not one to shy away from the fight. He assembled 600 men and joined his brother's army, ready to lay down his life for his family and his homeland. The Battle of Stiklestad will be remembered as one of the most significant in Norwegian history. Harald and Olaf's forces clashed with those of King Canute the Great, the ruler of Denmark, England, and Norway. Young Harald fought valiantly, displaying courage far beyond his years. But the battle was brutal, and King Olaf was struck down, mortally wounded. As the battle raged on, Harald himself was gravely injured, barely escaping with his life. With his brother dead and the battle lost, Harald was left with nothing. Wounded and with no allies, he went into hiding in a remote farm in eastern Norway. It was there, in his darkest hour, that he began to plot his next move. Harald knew that his destiny lay far beyond the borders of Norway. Once he had recovered from his wounds, Harald made his way north to Sweden and then to Kievan Rus, where he sought refuge with Grand Prince Yaroslav the Wise. Yaroslav, who was married to Harald's distant relative, welcomed the young warrior into his service. Harald, still in his teens, quickly proved himself as a formidable leader and tactician. In 1031, he fought alongside Yaroslav's forces against the Pigs, and later joined campaigns against the Byzantines and Pechenegs. By the time he was 20, Harald was already a battle-hardened veteran, feared by his enemies and respected by his comrades. But Harald's ambition stretched far beyond the cold plains of Kievan Rus. In 1033, he gathered his loyal followers and journeyed south to Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire. There, he joined the Varangian Guard, an elite unit of Norse warriors who served as the personal bodyguards of the Byzantine Emperor. Harald's time with the Varangian Guard was nothing short of legendary. He fought on nearly every frontier of the Byzantine Empire, from the Mediterranean Sea to the Tigris River. Whether battling Arab pirates, capturing strongholds in Asia Minor, or protecting pilgrims in Jerusalem, Harald's prowess on the battlefield was unmatched. In 1038, he participated in the Byzantine campaign to retake Sicily from Muslim control, capturing Thanes and solidifying his reputation as a military genius. But even in Constantinople, Harald's life was not without peril. After the death of Emperor Michael IV, the empire was plunged into chaos. Harald found himself imprisoned, possibly due to court intrigue or a dispute with the new emperor, Michael V. But the Norse warrior was not one to be caged for long. With the help of his loyal Varangian comrades, Harald escaped, leading a daring assault on the imperial palace, where he personally blinded the usurper emperor before making his way back to Kievan Rus. By 1042, Harald had accumulated vast wealth and experience. He married Elisabeth, the daughter of Yaroslav, solidifying his ties to Kievan Rus. But Harald's heart still yearned for Norway, for the throne that had been denied to him and his brother. Now, a seasoned warrior and leader, he was ready to reclaim his homeland. Upon his return to Norway, Harald faced a new challenge, his nephew, Magnus the Good, who had taken the throne after Canut's death. Rather than plunge the country into another civil war, Harald and Magnus reached a compromise in 1046, agreeing to co-rule Norway. But the peace was short-lived. When Magnus died the following year without an heir, Harald became the sole ruler of Norway. However, Magnus left Denmark to Svein Estridsson, igniting Harald's anger and sparking a new conflict. For the next decade, Harald waged a relentless war against Svein, raiding the Danish coast and burning settlements. The conflict culminated in the Battle of Nisa in 1062, a naval clash where Harald commanded 150 ships. The battle raged through the night, with Harald's forces eventually gaining the upper hand. Although Svein managed to escape, Harald's dominance was clear, yet the war had taken its toll on both kingdoms, and in 1064 a truce was finally reached. With peace in Denmark, Harald's ambitions turned westward, to England. He believed he had a legitimate claim to the English throne, based on an agreement between Magnus the Good and the former English king, Harthacnut. When Edward the Confessor died in 1066, and Harald Godwinson was crowned king, Harald saw his opportunity. Assembling a massive fleet, he set sail for England, ready to stake his claim. Harald's invasion of England was swift and brutal. He landed with 300 longships, pillaging the coast and crushing local resistance at the Battle of Fulford. But his victory was short-lived. Just days later, Harald Godwinson's forces surprised Harald at Stamford Bridge. The battle that ensued would be one of the most famous in Viking history. On September 25, 1066, Harald Sigurdsson, the last great Viking king, met his fate at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Despite his ferocity and the courage of his men, the heavily armored English forces overwhelmed the Vikings. In the heat of battle, Harald was struck by an arrow to the throat and fell. With his death, the Viking Age came to an end. Harald's death marked the end of an era. His invasion had failed, but his legacy lived on. He was remembered as a warrior king who embodied the spirit of the Viking Age. A man of boundless ambition, unyielding courage, and an indomitable will. Harald Sigurdsson, the last great Viking, had left his mark on history, and his name would never be forgotten. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Harald Hardrada. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more epic tales from history.